All right, so we'll just give everyone a couple seconds to filter in here and then we can get started. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar brought to you by Farmers Edge. My name is Quentin Moorhead and I'm the National Account Manager of Top Crop Manager in Potatoes in Canada. I'm joined today by Chris Kennard, Product Marketing Manager with Farmers Edge. Today during our session, Chris will discuss how to optimize your input investment, touching on topics such as addressing areas of concern or interest, why you should be soil sampling, value added by incorporating variable rate technology, true cost of production, and additional ways to generate income through existing practices. Thanks again to Farmers Edge for sponsoring our session today. Farmers Edge is a global leader in digital agriculture with a turnkey data-driven fertility program. Local reps will work with you and your trusted advisors to build a fertility plan that's cost-effective, climate-friendly, and tailored to your unique yield, sustainability, and profitability goals. Email farmers or info at Farmers Edge to learn about getting soil sampling and unlimited variable rate prescriptions on your farm for only $2 an acre. This webinar is being recorded and will be made available to all attendees and registrants approximately 24 hours after our live broadcast. This session is scheduled to run for approximately an hour. Chris will speak for about 45 minutes, and following his presentations, we'll open the floor for questions. If you have any questions throughout, feel free to type them in the questions tab and we'll get to them during the presentation. This webinar has been approved for 1 CCA CEU in professional development. Further instructions for submission will follow the presentation. And without further ado, I'll let Chris take it away here.
All right, thanks, Quentin. And thanks everyone for joining here, I guess this afternoon. My name is Chris Kennard, like Quentin mentioned, and I am part of the Farmers Edge team here. As you can see in the picture here, I'm also a farmer as well. So I'm happy to be here today to discuss some opportunities that the Farmers Edge platform can provide, given I'm a user myself. Alongside my dad and my older brother, we've been customers of Farmers Edge for over 12 years. And a lot of what we will discuss today is the main reason we are customers, to really utilize Farmers Edge soil sampling services, variable rate package, and data collection services to optimize input investment on our farm, and hopefully I can support in that as well. So a little bit of an agenda here today. Taking a quick look, we're going to review some industry challenges, look ahead for opportunities while identifying how Farmers Edge services can hopefully help yourselves. And also at the end of the presentation, we do have an exciting special offer that I want to introduce you to and give you the opportunity to try Farmers Edge services on your own operation. So for those who are unaware, Farmers Edge is a global leader in digital agriculture. We are in Canada, the US, Russia, Brazil, Australia, and Ukraine. We offer many services, but one of the biggest advantages and main takeaways from this slide is the fact that we have one global digital platform consisting of a variety of different tools meant to support your decision making. But how can we support that? Farmers Edge leverages a unique digital infrastructure that combines hardware, software, agronomy, and support. So in terms of some of those different areas, think about hardware. We're talking about on-farm hardware, weather stations, telematics devices for in-field data collection. We have software to drive deep insights that support informed decision-making and ensure full traceability from field to the market. We don't scout fields necessarily, but we do support agronomically in terms of optimizing input and water use, protecting the environment and ensuring sustainability, all while using some of the hardware and software that we have available within our platform to support the scouting and agronomic needs that a farm requires. And we also have boots on the ground support to validate our models, ensure data accuracy, and to provide our partners and growers with the best experience possible every step of the way. So this isn't a feature or a tool set that is a box of here you go, good luck. This is very much a partnership in making sure that your team and your operation is utilizing the data sets that you are producing to the best of your ability. And there are really some obvious challenges heading into the 2022 growing season. Input shortages, high input costs, and inflation are resulting in more difficult decisions this season. But land still needs to be farmed efficiently. We still need to produce high amount of yields, or as high yield as possible. And we still need to generate, as farmers, profit and try and provide a best return possible, the best return on investment possible for whatever our investments may need, whether that be equipment or inputs or whatever is really going on in that operation in a particular year. And so with so much pressure to produce more with less and reduce the environmental impact, Farmers Edge can support and help you put the data that you're creating to work for you. And so when we're looking ahead at what this presentation is going to review, there's a few key notes that I want to make mention of. So stay informed. In the past, farmers may not have realized the mass amounts of data that they're producing on their farm, and that data is very valuable. And my goal and Farmers Edge goal is to help farmers understand the value and reap the benefits of the data set that they're producing. And also understand your soil. Soil can change drastically between one field to the next and can change drastically within an individual field. And in my opinion, farmers who do not soil sample are doing themselves a disservice, whether it be composite or flat rate sampling, whether it be VR and zone-based sampling. Understanding what nutrients are available underneath your soil, especially heading into a season like next year, which could be drought conditions for a lot of areas. It's important to know what's going on beneath the surface and understand what's available within the soil. And that leads to the next point of building the right fertility plan. Because once you understand what nutrients are available, it's important to take affirmative action on that. Knowing what's there is one thing, but taking proper action, making the proper application in terms of a 4R plan is how Farmers Edge can really help reduce our impact, but then also hopefully produce some higher yields and increase our return on investment. And with every decision we make throughout the season, we want to do our best to measure those results. So take action and measure results. How have the decisions that I've made over the past growing season, or right now as we're planning and heading into next season, how has that supported my bottom line? It's important to bring all of the data together so that we can measure those results accurately. And we have a few ways that we can help support that. Not everything we're going to discuss today, given the time frame, but always have the opportunity to discuss more at a later date. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, there is an opportunity to save and increase value. We have what we call a progressive grower program. It's an offer that we have extended to you folks that allows you to try Farmers Edge services for free for the first year. Get an understanding of what the data that you can produce on your farm, what the power behind that actually is. And that, again, that first year for free. So we'll talk more about that at the end. So first, let's talk about staying informed. Now, I'm a big fan of this slide because it talks about the different ways that Farmers Edge is collecting data on the farm. So everything along the left-hand side is a piece of hardware or software that our tech team is installing on the farm. So when we talk about data collection services, Farmers Edge isn't requiring a farmer or an operator or an egg retail to do any installation themselves. Our team will come out, install weather stations, install our telematics device that we call a cam plug into the machines so that we are automatically collecting the data sets that that farm is producing. And that's a big factor that needs to be discussed, is that the data collection is automatic. A farm manager, an equipment operator, whoever it is that is working on that farm doesn't have the time to manage a USB stick, to upload data sets to a platform manually, and then have the time again, or expected to be, to take the time to take those insights and take action from that. And so what the Farm Command and Farmers Edge platform allows is all of these different areas of data collection feeding into one central location, and that being our platform called Farm Command, where we can access that info through our website, through the computer, through our mobile app, or through a unique experience, and actually a personal favorite of mine, through the universal terminal. So making information like weather data and equipment data available on the rate controller or yield monitor that's already existing within the cab of that tractor or sprayer or combine. So I don't have to pull up my phone. I don't have to have an iPad or a tablet in the cab to know that the data that I'm producing, the application that I'm making is actually having that recording saved and allocated in easy to understand format, being within Farm Command. So on the right-hand side, I have a few key points of different actions that can take from these different data sets. If I think about having a local weather station, I'm going to plan different applications based off of forecast and historical data. From the equipment and the cam plugs, fleet tracking, logistics tracking, and passive data collection. Satellite imagery is a huge part of our business in terms of monitoring crop variability, understanding risks within the field, but then also driving a lot of our soil sampling. And I alluded to it earlier, but my farm, we are a soil sampling customer of Farmers Edge. We've utilized satellite imagery to generate zones for our fields and driven our soil sampling accordingly. So there's lots of great tools in terms of data collection that we have, and lots of great insights, not limited to just these few points, but giving you an idea of what the opportunity is when we talk about data collection on the farm. And this is a simple slide, but I think it is very powerful, and it's something that I mentioned on the last one. But the ability to turn the data set that is being collected into an insight that is going to help me create or make a decision that it ultimately leads to some type of action. The data collection needs to be automatic. The insights generated from that data, things like growth stage models or yield prediction or equipment reporting, all of that needs to be automatic as well, so that the time I've spent analyzing that information leads to a quicker decision, a quicker action. And when we talk about our data set going to work for us, this is the simple path that can go down. Do I have the proper tools in place to collect the information I need? Is it in a format like Farm Command that is bringing insights automatically to me? And then am I able to make a decision or take an action based off of that? So as simple as it looks here, it can be complicated, and I'm hoping that we can help out with some of that here today. But the data sets you're collecting aren't necessarily limited to just your access on the farm. A farmer works within this digital agriculture ecosystem and is partnered with so many different folks, whether it be in ag retail and they manage seed, fertilizer, crop protection, and scouting services. Maybe it's some type of financial institution and working with grain marketing and finance, or it's an insurance agency, or as we've released here in the past few months, carbon protocols. All of these folks have an advantage to the farmer collecting data. And so the farmer has the ability to share some of this information with some of those folks. And I like to use the example of an agronomist who is scouting fields for a farmer. If I'm an agronomist who plans to scout 100,000 acres, or maybe it's just 5,000 acres for a particular customer of mine, I may plan to visit those fields 15, 20, 25 times throughout the growing season. But I'm able to leverage satellite imagery and growth stage models to understand what my risk levels are, what my potential is within those fields, and then be able to manage and understand what's going on within my customers' fields or my own fields as a farmer without having to spend those 20, 30 times within that. So if I can use satellite imagery and growth stage models to maybe visit 5 of those 20 fields 20 times, I'm able to allocate the remainder of that time to other areas of my business, other areas of my operation, but still have as strong as understanding, or better understanding of what's going on within my field. So there's lots of great opportunity here. And if I want to, as a farmer, share my satellite imagery, my growth stage models with an agronomist who is scouting for me, I have the ability to do that because the data ownership remains with myself as the farm owner. So pulling up this slide, showing what's possible, using the agronomist example, there's power behind the data sharing, but ultimately it's the farmer's decision. So let's look at understanding your soil. And first off, why soil test in general? I think most people understand this, but to just reiterate a few points, being able to measure the available nutrients for fertilizer applications. How can we know what to apply if we don't know what's already available within the soil? Especially if we're talking about areas of drought, there's going to be limitations in that sense. Whether it's more nutrients than we expected, less nutrients than we expected, we want to be able to manage that as efficiently as possible. Diagnose nutrient deficiencies and assess soil problems. Analyze if practices are reaching desired results. And I think that's an important factor as well. if I have a rotation where I'm depleting some nutrient, I want to be able to build that up, or I probably have some type of plan to continue to build that up. And with fertilizer prices increasing and continuing to increase, we want to be able to continue to build that plan, but understand what's going on within the soil so we're not over applying or under applying in areas that are definitely deficient. And what type of soil test do I need? The cheaper, more basic tests will cost yourself exponentially in the long run. So when we talk about different methods of soil sampling, getting an understanding at different depths and different nutrients, what's available, is extremely important, and not wanting to cheap out just to get the basic understanding. We want to have as clear-cut choice as to what our applications are going to be. And of course, there are many different methods to sampling. As you can see in the two pictures on the left, we've got the hand probe and the bucket where we're walking throughout the field and taking those samples. We also have the ATV, or the side-by-side, where we've got the probe attached. At Farmer's Edge, we actually use half-ton trucks for the most part. Some in the snowier areas will have tracks on them as well. But utilizing a probe attached to the frame, the picture here in the middle is a screenshot of that, where we've got the different zones. We've got the zone map on the computer and the different zones within the different bags, and showing the probe on the right-hand side. So within our soil tests, we have the shallow versus the depth, where we've got zone tests from the 0 to 6 inches and showing the nutrients that we're testing here, and then the 6 to 24 inches and showing the nutrients that are available in those regions. So very inclusive, very dynamic soil test, and really getting the best understanding possible when we are getting into the field and taking those results. But when we talk about a soil sampling plan, there are different ways, obviously, that this can be created. Now, what we do at Farmer's Edge is we break this into two different scenarios. We want to get as good as understanding of what's going on within those fields and within your entire farm by sampling the entire farm the first year. And we're able to get that baseline. We're able to review satellite imagery, build those production zones, ground truth those production zones, and actually consult with the farmer. Nobody understands variability within the field more than a farmer who has been farming those fields for 30 plus years, or less or more, give or take. So once we build a zone map representing of a field, we want to always consult with the farmer, get approval, and then start that soil sampling process. And what we've done over the past 15, 16 years that Farmer's Edge has been in business is we've taken all of the soil test data from all of the regions that we've been operating in. We've taken all of the recommendation data from all of the agronomists that have been creating recommendations for all of our customers, and we've ingested that into a machine learning algorithm that allows us to very accurately predict soil test results without actually having to be in the field. And that's not saying we're not sampling in every field every year. We are sampling in every field and every year. But if you think about a field with multiple zones, so I've broken my field out potentially into 6 or 7 zones. In the first year, I'm going to sample every one of those zones in that full farm, full year sampling. In years 2 to 4, we take more of a directed sampling, where the system actually tells us what the soil test results are based off of growing conditions from the past year. So another advantage of having the weather stations locally, it tells us what nutrients are available in certain zones, and then will tell us what zones the system is less comfortable with or less confident in. And we will go to those areas of the field and take an actual soil test. So we take an actual soil test in year 1, and in years 2 to 4, we will have more of a directed scouting for those actual soil tests. And for the other zones, we will have what we call a virtual soil test. So to give you an idea and a way that Farmer's Edge is unique in analyzing those results visually. So we're looking at an example here. This is a 7-zone map. As you can see, we have 7 production zones on this map. We've got the zone 1 being the lower producing area within this field. We've got the zone 7 being the higher producing area in this field. And we're looking at nitrogen results. And I think this is a great experience for understanding what nutrients are available within those different production zones. If I treat my zone ones as lower producing area, often saline on my own farm, where we're really reducing our nitrogen and application rates of fertilizer, and I treat the zone 3 and 4 as the average where there's more opportunity to push fertilizer rates and reach that next potential. The system may say, when we talk about virtual soil testing, that it's less confident in zones 3, 4, and 5. So we'll use a virtual soil test on 1, 2, 6, and 7, and we'll actually soil test 3, 4, and 5. So just to reiterate on that, in the first year of a contract with Farmers Edge soil sampling, we are going to get an actual soil test, an AST, on every single zone, as you can see here, and be able to show these results. On years 2 to 4, we may sample 5 of the 7 zones. We may sample 6 of the 7 zones, but we're going to be in every single field every year. And that allows us to be scalable within our pricing structure, allows us to get as accurate results using this method and cover off more acres and provide a better experience. When we talk about understanding what results are available within this, start seeing the highs and lows. So if I was looking at this and I saw a green area, I would tend to notice that is a high amount of nitrogen. Here we can see a bunch of yellow. So how am I managing that incorrectly? Is there a way that I can reduce that and make sure that the crop is using up all of that nitrogen throughout that plant? So the visualization of soil test results in this format is just the next step in visualizing them beyond the PDF and charts that we're historically used to. So this is a great experience that we have within the Farm Command platform. But we also want to make sure that we're building the right fertility plan. The 4 R's, the right source, right rate, right time, right place, is a huge proponent, and the methodology that Farmers Edge has taken the entirety of us doing variable rate services for our customers, trying to optimize inputs, produce high yielding, low carbon grain. Now with our smart carbon solutions, generate high quality carbon offsets with the opportunity for unlimited variable rate prescriptions, whether that be for seed, fertilizer, crop protection. We have variable rate prescriptions available for all of those opportunities. But ultimately, what makes a good fertility plan? There are many factors at play that support a good fertility plan, many of which are a decision of some kind that can be driven from data sets that Farmers Edge can help provide. And in Farm Command, we try and understand that in an easy format. Obviously, a good fertility plan includes understanding what nutrients are below the soil. That's what we've spoke about already today. We talk about zone management, so building an accurate zone map, understanding yield goals and historical yields, not setting the bar too high to something that is unattainable, so we're over fertilizing and really reducing our potential for a positive return on investment. But then we also want to maximize efficiency and, if possible, participate in one of those carbon subsidies, carbon programs. But when we're building zones, there are definitely options out there. And as you can see, there are, I guess, essentially options out there. Am I saying that one version is more accurate than the next, or is the right method versus another? No, I'm not saying that. I think it's important to note, if a customer is trying to do variable rate and building their zone map to some degree, that's hugely benefit to the operation in general. How Farmers Edge does it, though, is using NDVI imagery, topography mapping, and yield. Now, we use this method, and we've done so for a very long time. Obviously, we've enhanced it over the years. We've been able to pull in not only one piece of imagery at a time, but multiple pieces of imagery from different seasons at a time, ingesting topography so we can understand elevation, slope within a field, and how we want to manage those different areas of higher elevation differently than lower elevation, and then always understanding yield. And when I say yield in here, I'm not saying that Farmers Edge today we are ingesting yield data automatically. And I don't want to mislead you in that sense, but I've built hundreds of zone maps myself personally. Most agronomists nowadays that are building maps have 2 screens pulled up. And so with yield data processing available through the CAM plug and through the yield monitors, I'm able to visualize yield data on one screen while I'm going through the process of building production zones for a farmer. So I always know where the high areas of variability are, high areas of production are. And so when I'm going through that zone mapping process, I'm able to have that clear understanding without any guessing. But as always, and what I mentioned before, the discussion with the farmer is very critical so that everything that we've designed and built can be confirmed and verified by the farmer who knows the field the best. And it's important to note too, for farmers that are thinking about trying the Farmer's Edge services, but have a zone map, however it might have been generated, that they like and they feel is a great representation of the field or all of their fields, Farmer's Edge, we can actually ingest imagery or zone maps from other sources and be able to take soil samples off of that as well. So working with Farmer's Edge doesn't mean you have to change your methodology and start using our zones. We do have the ability to ingest outside sources as well. Overall, as we talk about, grid versus zone, I really feel, and it's part of the point as well, is when we utilize imagery to build production zone maps, whether it's imagery, topography, what building a zone map allows us to do is observe where variability is within the field and allow that to direct our scouting. And then we are our sampling. We utilize imagery, we build our zones, we use the zones to drive our sampling. Whereas when we talk about grid, that's more of placing this grid and allowing that to drive our soil sampling, and then understanding where variability exists afterwards. I truly believe that Mother Nature obviously didn't build the fields on straight lines and right corners. So using the lay of the land, the imagery, and what that tells us in terms of vegetative growth within the field, and guiding that for our sampling is a great representation, or provides a great representation of what variability is and where the potential lies within those fields. And when we talk about variable rate in general and Farmer's Edge variable rate, higher yields are a huge proponent of that. But for me as a farmer, I'm so much more return on investment driven than higher yields, because I can keep pushing and pushing higher yields, but there's a law of diminishing returns that is going to reduce my overall profitability at the end of the day. So we are really focused on obviously higher yields, but then producing a positive return on investment. We want to make sure that it is practicable and everybody is clear in understanding what the goals are. Our comprehensive soil test and analysis is all done in-house. So we have our own soil testing, our own labs, both in Canada and the US, and we are getting results back very efficiently. And with all that being said, and as I stated at the start, having that integrated platform where all of the information that is being collected on my farm is stored in one easy to understand location is a huge benefit, and where we see ourselves head and shoulders above some of the competition. And we continue to develop all the time. We take feedback from our customers based off of the tools that they're using within the platform. We focus on always enhancing, making the user experience easier, making that better, and always trying to advance our digital tools. Let's talk about measuring some of those results. So when we talk about measuring results, there are many ways that we can do this. When we're focusing on fertility, as we've been discussing today, there are advantages and some maps that we can actually create. Now, we've been doing variable rate with Farmer's Edge, like I mentioned, for over 12 years now. We don't put check strips in our fields anymore, but we still have the opportunity to do that. So if I wanted to apply a variable rate application across the entirety of my field, but still have a check strip of conventional flat rate application, we can still do that. So there's great advantage in the ability to confirm if my new farming practices, if this is something that we're new to trying, are working for me and providing that positive return on investment. And if anything, there's always something that you can learn from it. This is actually a profit map, a variable rate production map from my own farm and own field a few years ago now, where we had a check strip in the north quarter of this field. We compared that flat rate check strip in the middle to some VR check strips on the outside. And we found that in each one of our production zones, we had a higher yield response. And what we learned was in the zone 7 here, and I'll actually see if I can zoom in and give you a better look at it. In our zone 7, we actually had a loss compared to our variable rate advantage, a loss of only $16 an acre. Overall, we had a variable rate advantage of almost $34, which is a great return on investment, but we still have opportunity to make more. The decision and what I can learn from this is that we've over applied in a zone that has the potential to produce a high yield without increasing my fertilizer. So could my NPKs or my N in this case be lowered to 140, 135, 130, and still produce me a higher amount of yield versus my conventional, but have a variable rate advantage that's positive versus a negative, and my overall advantage be increased as well. So having the opportunity to measure the results is extremely important. And we have more options than this, but some great resources that help folks learn about variable rate if they haven't tried it, learn about what the power of soil testing can provide. And so what I'd like to end off here in the last 15 minutes or so is talking about our Progressive Grower program and the Fertility Showcase. So this is a special offer that we have generated, basically getting a lead on digital solution at no cost for 1 year. So having the ability to add an advanced fertility program to boost the return on investment. We call this the Progressive Grower Program and Fertility Showcase because most of what we've discussed today, we are giving you the opportunity to try at no cost, which is a regular cost of $3 per acre. So when we talk about the telematics devices, which is providing us with the automatic data collection and equipment tracking, the on-farm weather stations, which is giving us forecast results, historical data sets, smart claim alerts on severe weather events like high temperature alerting, low temperature alerting if we're worried about frost in early season, high wind speed events, hail events, and heavy rainfall events in a short period of time. Things that are going to very much limit our yield potential if those types of effects are severe enough. All of that included within these services as well. High resolution imagery to understand where variability exists within the field. But not only the basic satellite imagery maps, also notifications. So our system actually takes every image that comes into the platform, compares that to images in the past, and will identify negative factors within those fields, whether it's nutrient deficiencies or disease or pests or one of those weather events that I mentioned earlier. If any of those effects occur within those fields, there is potential for our crop health change imagery to detect that and actually send an email or a notification through our mobile app that informs that there's some type of negative effect taking place. So when we talk about satellite imagery and scouting fields, the directed scouting that can come from those is an extremely attractive factor to that. Do I want to continue to scout my fields in a W pattern and try and get the best representation of variability through walking that field as possible? Yeah, I think that's still a viable solution, but is it scalable? Is it time efficient? Where we can utilize satellite imagery to pinpoint those particular areas, use the Farm Command app to walk to those specific areas, take note of those, and have that result showing throughout the platform. And again, making that platform available in a multitude of different ways, having the website for time of year right now when we're trying to plan for next season through the Farm Command crop planning tool, when we're trying to understand every decision we made in the past year, what did that lead us for return on investment or overall production from our fields? And I mentioned it before, the universal terminal experience, a big fan of this one, having Farm Command, the weather stations, any job management available on the rate controller as basically a widget so that I don't have to have a phone or a smart tablet up on the side of my tractor or sprayer, and I'm already reducing whatever limited cab window space that is already in there. As we know, there can be rate controllers, GPS controllers, blockage monitors, and so on. A planting tractor these days, that side window is getting awfully full. And in my experience, that universal terminal is a great resource to have. And then the support and training. I mentioned it at the start as well. We have a very large team that supports every step along the way. In no way does your team or your operation have to install cam plugs and weather stations, or have to calibrate weather stations on a daily basis, or if something is damaged, you have to worry about paying for anything. All of that is taken care of by our team in-house, and so there's no extra burden. It's a matter of having the data collected automatically, having that flow into the platform so that folks like yourselves can utilize all of these complementary tools within the platform to support your decision making as best as possible. So looking back at what's all available here, this is the digital solution. This is where I'm focusing on the data sets and what's being collected across, what you can see on the page for no cost for the first year, which would be originally a $3 per acre cost. But we also focus on the fertility side of it, right? Today, we've had a big conversation about fertility, how we can manage our zones effectively, understand what nutrients are available below the soil, and go along with the trends that are what we see today of inflation and increasing fertilizer prices. Increased commodity prices are great to see. Are they going to last? It's impossible to tell. So how can we manage our field resources more effectively? And so what we've introduced from a fertility side of things are two options. On the left, you can see our variable rate technology. So if we're looking to farm or soil sample 50% of the farm, that's when we would have a $2 per acre service for that first year. And then 100% of the farm we'd be sampling, it would be $3 per acre. So it's that comprehensive soil sampling that I was mentioning, the 0 to 6 and the 6 to 24, where we have the macros and micros, pH, organic matter, and then unlimited variable rate prescriptions. So identifying those zone maps, both for or all for seeding, fertilizer, fungicide, desiccation, plant growth regulator. The list is endless of what we can apply variable rate in terms of building that prescription. So again, when we utilize the variable rate technology, that's when we look at $2 per acre service for 50% of the farm sampled, and $3 per acre service for 100% of the farm sampled. So a great price point there, especially when we were able to see the value that comes along with that. All of these digital tools that we're talking about here, all of that is included in that $3 per acre that we would see within this $3 per acre variable rate technology program. And for those folks that aren't ready for variable rate, but still want to have soil sampling completed, we call that our nutrient management offer, where we have 100% of the farm sampled at $1.50 per acre. That's composite flat rate soil sampling, where we also have unlimited flat rate fertility prescriptions coming along, available with that. So, a great resource as well. Like I said at the start, it's my opinion that farmers who don't soil sample are doing themselves somewhat of a disservice by applying the same blend, the same rate across their entire field every year. If we can do the basics of nutrient management, composite soil sampling, we can still manage that plan effectively and get better results. But if we have a variable rate technology on our air seeder, on our planters, on our sprayers, it's a great opportunity to try here as well at a very low price point, and even lower when we consider 50% of the farm being at $2 per acre. So I'm getting close to the end here, and I'll just remind folks, if you do have questions, please feel free to type those into the Q&A box. Happy to answer those. But just as a summary, of course, staying informed. When we talk about the data sets that your farmer is producing, take that and use that to your advantage. It's a valuable commodity nowadays. And if you're not utilizing it, that's fine. If you don't know how to utilize it, that's why we're here to help and help you get comfortable with inputting information, pulling information out, and supporting that decision making. Understanding what's in your soil. If you're located in Western Canada, there is a chance for a drought in 2022. Understand what nutrients are there so that we can build the right fertility plan and use the 4R solutions that Farmers Edge has been utilizing for so long. Of course, we want to be able to measure results, understand if the decisions that we have made over the past 12 months, over the past 10 years have been effective, and we're setting ourselves up for success moving forward. And then look for opportunities, right? The Farmers Edge Solutions and the Progressive Grower Program is a great opportunity to try our services for free for the first year. But if you want to add on the fertility solutions on top of that, we have the $1.50 per acre nutrient management, the $2 per acre for VR services on half the farm, and the $3 per acre services across the entire farm. So a great opportunity there. I'll pull this up here for a second, and then I'm going to go to one more slide, and Quentin can help me out with this one here. But if you have any additional questions beyond today, feel free to email us at info@farmersedge.ca, or you can always call 1-866-724-2243. And I'll leave this on for 1 second, and then I'm going to jump to the next slide. So for those of you who are looking to receive the CEU credits, you're able to scan this QR code. So I'll leave this up for a couple minutes here, but you're able to use your mobile device to scan this code, and you should receive those CEU credits immediately.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. Took care of that for me. But yeah, we can get through a few questions here. We got a few in the queue here, so we'll go through those. And like Chris said, if there's anything else that you want to ask him while he's on, feel free to type in that Q&A box there, and we can get them answered. So first one, I really appreciate your comments about doing a detailed soil sample, not the cheaper basic version that gives limited information. However, I did not see molybdenum on your list of nutrients being tested. It's an essential nutrient that is quite often deficient in North America, can really impact nitrogen efficiency.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that would be a great one for us to follow up with. If I can just quickly jump back to that slide and take a closer look. I personally am not familiar with that myself, but it's something that I'd be very happy to follow up with. And the thing about this screenshot too, it's not showing absolutely everything that we have here. You might actually be referring to this other one. Yeah, I think that would be a great opportunity for us to follow up with, if you don't mind us reaching out. Yeah, I see you're right here. I don't see that on here. And and that's the great thing about what we've done in the past too, is we're always open to adjust. If there is a need in the industry and we aren't meeting that, we always look to, can we adjust? Can we provide that service? Maybe it's something that we are providing, but it's just not common in what we're mapping and what we show within the common soil test. Our lab, there's a good chance that we already process and display it. So yeah, I'd love to follow up with you there and get a better understanding. So. Perfect.
Some of these other ones I think we answered throughout the presentation, but maybe just a reiteration would be helpful. So just to bring it back, as a customer, would I be required to install weather stations and can plugs?
Yeah, that's a good one too. And I did mention it. Not at all. We do all the maintenance calibration. That's totally on the Farmers Edge team. We actually own the devices. So when we talk about can plugs and weather stations, if you have 5 tractors and 2 combines and 2 sprayers, we will install a can plug in every single one of those machines at no additional cost. So we're trying to make sure that all of the data collection is taking place automatically, and I don't have to spend $500 on an additional device if I have another machine show up at the farm. It's all included. Doesn't matter how many machines you have, all of that is included. So
perfect. Next one, can I give my agronomist access to my farm command?
Yeah, you bet. And yeah, I mentioned that too, where if I'm working with an agronomist and I want them to have access to certain features that is going to make them do a better job for me, I can give them permission, basically give them their own login with certain permissions, and that's something they could access for sure.
Perfect. Another one here. What crops are you working with?
So, I mean, pretty much everything. We're all across Western Canada. We're in Ontario. We're down in the US, Brazil. So we pretty much work with every single crop. We have a long list of different crops that we have yield prediction for: corn, soybeans, wheat, canola, oats, peas, lentils, chickpeas. The list really goes on. So if you had a particular crop in mind and you wanted to ask that, I'd be happy to answer, but it's long list of crops. Yeah.
For sure. We'll see if anything comes through on that one after. And then last one here, if I sign up, when does the Progressive Grower program start?
Yeah, so the Progressive Grower starts as soon as you sign up. So we go through a process of getting an understanding of your account, right? Building your account, getting field borders, getting hardware installed. Maybe not hardware installed right away because we're in winter. Machines might be in the shed, but we're able to get you going with the account, right? We're in crop planning season right now. You'd be able to utilize that account within the first week and start playing around, getting trained by our customer success teams and our relationship managers. And it starts right away. So there's although the growing season doesn't start for some folks until March, April, June, May, we can get you in the platform right away and using it.
Perfect. And we got some updates on the crops here. He's talking
Mhm.
berries, tree fruit, veg, like potatoes, cole crops.
Yeah, for sure. So potatoes as a broad acre crop, definitely. We have growth stage models for that as well. When we talk about berries and fruits and vegetables, we more so treat that as our imagery services. We don't have the modeling per se for those, yield prediction for those, but we do access and have customers who access the satellite imagery services for that. If they're broad acre or larger fields and you have equipment that you're applying and have a rate controller, or you have a combine with a yield monitor, of course we can utilize that and have our devices installed. But typically our customers who are working with berries or fruits and vegetables, we are working with them in an imagery layout.
Perfect. And I'll get you to go back to that last slide there, Chris, because I think that's the questions right now. And so before we end, just a reminder that this webinar was approved for one professional development credit. If you did not submit your CCA certification number when registering, please email your first and last name and CCA number to webinars@annexbusinessmedia.com. These instructions will also be found in the follow-up email, which will hold the recording of the webinar. So on that note, thanks for tuning into today's webinar, and don't forget to visit topcropmanager.com/webinars to view all our previously recorded webinars. Thanks again, Chris.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.